Yeah, sure. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Anju Goyal, and on behalf of TERI, I extend my warm welcome to all of you to be a part of today's webinar on restoring air quality for healthy ecosystem. This webinar is organized by TERI and supported by the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation. As we all know, rapid increase in economic and industrial activities, along with the growing urbanization, has led air pollution to be one of the most pressing public health issues. As per the recent data by NAM, around 78% of Indian cities where air quality is being monitored violate the prescribed national ambient air quality standards for particulate matter. With an aim to support Government of India's initiative to improve air quality, the Clean Air Project in India has been initiated in 4 focused cities: Lucknow, Kanpur, Nashik, and Pune. As we all know, the World Environment Day is celebrated worldwide on 5th of June to encourage awareness on pressing environmental issues. This year, the theme of World Environment Day is ecosystem restoration. In view of addressing the theme, the event aims to contribute towards restoring air quality for healthy ecosystem by facilitating valuable discussions and sensitizing individuals to learn, be accountable, and take concrete actions to combat air pollution. Without further ado, I request Dr. Vibha Dhawan, Director General TERI, to kindly inaugurate the event. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Anju. First of all, I should say Happy Environment Day, and let's hope next Environment Day will be in a better environment. Well, really speaking, air pollution is something that impacts each one of us, every living organism, whether it's a plant, whether it's an animal, whether they are human beings. It has emerged as one of the most pressing public health issue. And believe me, in Delhi, people are talking about, is it a livable city? Like when I talk to youngsters, the very first question, or when you talk to them, one of the reasons they want to go overseas is that Delhi is no more a livable city. And that's all because of air pollution. And it's not just Delhi. Really speaking, it is about 78% of the Indian cities that violate the prescribed national ambient air quality standards. It impacts our health. And health, really speaking, it's not just respiratory diseases. Ultimately, it in a way impact your mental health as well. It's not that the governments are not conscious. They are very much conscious. And that's one of the reasons that in 2019, National Clean Air Program has been launched with the aim to reduce the particulate matter concentration by 20 to 30% between 2017 to 2024. In order to achieve the results in a stipulated time frame, one really has to spend money, and more than the money coming from the government, I'll say public participation. Who is polluting? What is air pollution? Each one of us is responsible for polluting. Somewhere we forget, we feel whatever I'm doing is a friction. Air is so already so bad. So if I'm doing something wrong, how does it impact? It's we who are all the time, we don't bother. We are driving big cars. If it comes to poor farmer, then we say that they are burning crop residues. So it's practically every action of ours that we should be conscious about. So public participation is extremely essential. TERI, as part of TERI, we are very happy to be part of the Clean Air Project in India, CAP, which is supported by SDC. And I must acknowledge that TERI has long and healthy relationship with SDC. We are associated, I should say, maybe from early 90s with SDC. We have done a number of projects for them, and it's great to be working with them. And thank you so much for taking interest in our country, working with the Government of India and taking issue of air quality, which ultimately is for better health and well-being of all the residents of the country. We have conducted several events in the past also under CAP India project. And in continuation of this series, we are organizing today's webinar on restoring air quality for healthy ecosystem on the eve of the World Environment Day. And that aligns with the theme of the ecosystem restoration, weaved around the restoration of healthy and a healthy atmospheric ecosystem. This event is designed to sensitize educators, students, environmental enthusiasts, experts, and other citizens, I should say everywhere, but more for the four cities that Anju mentioned, Lucknow, Kanpur, Pune, and Nashik. We will also be launching a number of programs for schools for enhancing knowledge on this subject, which we consider, the students, we consider that they are the most important agents of change. We have seen in the past when it became say no to crackers, it was school children who really drove that initiative, and children telling their parents, we should not be burning crackers. So I suppose children today, they will also, once they are sensitized, and we are very fortunate because this generation is far more responsible than ours. And I'm sure they will take this message of caring for the environment, caring for air far better than what we have done in the past. We are very happy to welcome the panel of esteemed personalities. Jonathan, Head of Corporation at the SDC, Dr. Randeep Galeria, we must thank for his time because he is so busy because of the pandemic. I'm sure he and his team and doctors all over the country, all over the world, I should say, we salute them for what they are doing for humanity. We have Shri Motkare, he'll be joining us a little later from Maharashtra Pollution Control Board. Shri Ashish Tiwari, Member Secretary, UP Pollution Control Board. We are really grateful for your time and presence for this seminar. I hope the participants will not just be recipient of knowledge today, but will be our ambassadors, and become agents of change, taking informed decisions and pass on their learning to their fellow colleagues, friends, and family members. I'd like to request each one of you to make contributions in ensuring better air quality this year. And we really have to take care of this. We have also faced, I should say, while pandemic had everything negative, but then it brought us back to rethinking what clean air means, because of the pandemic, because of the lockdown, we have also witnessed that the air became much cleaner, our waters became much cleaner during that time, which make us rethink, should we care, or should we care far more than what we are doing today for air and for water and for our environment. So thank you very much, and wishing you once again Happy Environment Day.
Happy Environment Day to you too, ma'am. Thank you for your kind inaugural remarks. Now I would request Dr. Jonathan Dimenge, Head at Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation in New Delhi, to kindly deliver the welcome address. Now moving towards the session, I kindly request Dr. Sumit Sharma, Director, Earth Sciences and Climate Change Division, TERI, to moderate the session, introduce our esteemed panel of guests, and take over the proceeding. Over to you, Sumit.
Thank you, Anju, and thank you, Dr. Dhawan, for not just wishing us World Environment Day, but kicking off this important event on the right note. When we talk about restoring ecosystems, I think restoring air quality comes forefront. We are inhaling air every minute, every second, and if we don't get it in the right quality, it is going to harm a lot of our organs, starting from the respiratory ones. When we talk about a healthy ecosystem here, I have in mind humans, I have in mind agricultural fields, I have in mind buildings, and the climate overall, which basically impacts all of us in different ways. And if we improve our air quality, the science has shown us that it not just improve the health of the humans, it also improves the agricultural productivity, it improves the overall economy of the region, and in the longer run, it helps reducing climate change. So in this sense, this is what we bring today for discussion, how air quality can be restored, how we can reduce its impacts, the impacts of air pollution on human health, and several other factors which affect human society. I have with me, an esteemed panel of experts from different fields. Dr. Randeep Galeria, he doesn't need any introduction. We can see him on all the TV channels on a daily basis. He's handling big problem, but I think he's one of the advocate of linking air pollution with human health and an advocate of good air quality. And I would request him to kick off this discussion on a note where we can sensitize people on reducing air pollution and not just save their own lives, but also several aspects which I just discussed. Dr. Guleria, please.
Thank you very much. At the onset, let me really take this opportunity to thank TERI, Dr. Dhawan, and also really say that I'm honored to be here on something which I personally feel is very important, and that is the issue of air pollution, and therefore the Clean Air Project in India is something which is of utmost importance. Can you see my slides?
Yes, sir. We can hear. We can see.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just in the next 10 minutes or so just run through why it's important, because in many ways air pollution is a silent killer. We don't really understand. We can say that so many people died because of COVID-19 because we have a test to say that yes, they were RT-PCR positive and therefore they had COVID and they died because of that. But the number of people who die of air pollution is never really documented in that manner, and that's why it becomes a big challenge when it comes to the effect of air pollution and health. If you look at what has been the data, and this is a paper published in the Lancet, which looked at the global burden of 187 risk factors in 204 countries from 1990 to 2019. And this is the global burden of disease 2019. And what they found was that if you look at the deaths in men and women, air pollution was among the top 5. Even if you looked at disability adjusted life year, the amount of disability it was causing, air pollution was there among the top 5. And what they concluded was that the largest increase from 1990 to 2019 were in ambient particulate matter pollution, drug use, high fasting blood glucose, and high body mass index. So air pollution is one of the most important factors which we need to keep in mind, but somehow it doesn't get put up as much as we should. This is the State of Global Air 2020 report by the Health Effects Institute US, which has also looked at the global air. And they have really calculated that in 2019, 6.67 million people died because of air pollution. So it's a large and staggering number, but somehow never given the importance that it deserves. This is a paper in which many of us were involved, which came up in the Lancet Public Health, which looked at the impact of air pollution on deaths, disease burden, and life expectancy across various states of India. So this did a state-wise evaluation in 2017. But the basic thing that I'd like to highlight is that almost 1.24 million deaths in India in 2017 were attributable to air pollution, and they were both ambient, that's outdoor, and household air pollution, which is playing a very important role. And therefore, it's very important for us to understand that this is really a burning issue, and we really need to look at it as an emergency and try and take actions against it. This paper also highlighted something which I felt was very important, that they really looked at the disability adjusted life years and compared it to tobacco use. And they found that low respiratory tract infection, COPD, and even heart disease, ischemic heart disease, were being seen more in terms of disability in people because of air pollution than because of tobacco use. We talk a lot of smoking cessation and how to stop smoking in our society, but we really don't focus on air pollution with the same sort of intent. And that I think is very important to understand, that air pollution is now causing more disability in terms of the lungs, in terms of the heart, than even the use of tobacco is. And that is why this becomes more and more of an important issue. Also remember that if you have lower respiratory tract infection, or you have COPD, or you have exposure to high qualities of air pollution, you also tend to have severe COVID. And there are now papers from Italy, from the US, and from China. The paper from China was, of course, from SARS outbreak, which clearly showed that in those areas where pollution level was high, there was higher mortality due to COVID-19 as compared to those areas where pollution level was low. So this is something that we need to keep in mind. And we know that PM 2.5 has long-term effects, which we don't really look at that aggressively, but we should. It leads to higher cardiopulmonary mortality, lung cancer, and diabetes, and affects reproductive health. And the short-term effects are what we see every year when we have this poor quality of air in the winter months in the Indo-Gangetic belt, where there is an increasing number of people coming to the emergency with cardiac and respiratory problem. There are other what we call fine particulate matter, which can also cause effects as far as the lungs are concerned. What all of this does is it goes into your lungs and it causes what we call oxidative stress. It causes not only inflammation of the lungs, but also of the blood vessels in the body, because the pollutant doesn't stay into the lungs. It actually causes inflammation in the blood and therefore causes a lot of systemic effects, which can affect various other organs also. And we all know that extremes of infants, children, elderly are the high risk group. It also affects pregnant women and can cause cardiovascular disease. I won't go to the entire list, but a large number of effects have been linked to particulate matter. And also the Health Effect Institute actually attributed number of deaths, whether it be neonatal deaths, 20%, whether it be cancers, whether it be diabetes or COPD, was linked to air pollution and could be linked to air pollution. So it's important to look at air pollution more holistically and understand the importance that it's causing. And we have people who have decrease in their lung functions. We have then, of course, more emergency visits, and it can also lead to mortality. There's also now a lot of data emerging that it can be associated with birth defects if there is exposure to high levels of air pollution in pregnant women. A study which was done from Chennai also showed that there was low birth weight in those women who were actually exposed to high levels of indoor air pollution. And this is something that we need to keep in mind, especially when we look at intrauterine growth retardation. There's also been data which suggests that various defects in the heart can occur due to high exposure to carbon monoxide, ozone, and this is another very important thing that we need to keep in mind. This is an expert position paper which came out a few years ago, which looked at the cardiovascular effects, the effect on the heart. And again, it showed that air pollution leading to oxidative stress and inflammation causes multiple effects. It leads to vasoconstriction, plaque rupture, thrombosis, arrhythmia. All of this leads to heart attacks and heart failure. So I think it's something that we need to keep in mind. But as was mentioned, air pollution is not only something which affects humans, it also affects animals and it also affects plants and the ecosystem. So when we are looking at the effect of air pollution, it's important to look at it in a more holistic manner, and therefore it impacts our health, it impacts the climate, it impacts food, it impacts energy, and it impacts water itself. And that is why there is now this concept of One Health, that when we talk of health, we should talk of One Health. And I think it's become more and more apparent during COVID-19 because the virus has actually come from bats. So unless you are looking at animal health holistically, you will have viruses jumping species and causing effect as far as human health is concerned. This also is important for antimicrobial resistance. And therefore, it's important that we start looking at One Health. And in the One Health concept, it's important that there's coordination, communication, and collaboration between all stakeholders so that we can really move forward. Factors that we need to consider is basically looking at air quality, looking at the health, and looking at emitting sectors. And this is something that needs to be done in a very holistic manner. So it needs to get policymakers on board, you need to get society on board, you need to get scientists on board, and you have to look at all of these and then look at intersectorial ways of really addressing this problem at all these levels. A lot has been done as far as India is concerned. Basically, we've been involved in looking at it. And I remember the whole issue of talking of air pollution, even in the late 90s, which led to CNG coming in. And there was a phase when we did see an improvement as far as air pollution was concerned. But from 2005 or 6, again, because of multiple factors, we again started seeing a rise in levels of air pollution. And a lot of policy decisions have been taken by the government. At the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, we have been involved in multiple projects. This is one project that we did where we really showed and we looked at our admissions in the emergency in children and in adults for 2 years, finished this in 2019, and showed that there was a direct correlation with high levels of air pollution and hospital visits for acute respiratory and problems, both in children and adults. And we showed that the levels of air pollution went up. There was, for the next 6 days, a significant increase in the number of people coming with, and children coming with acute respiratory symptoms in Delhi. This is another project that we're doing, which is a internationally funded project with Medical Research Council and DBT, which is looking at the Delhi air pollution and health effects, DAPHNE project. Again, this was looking at two basically group subsets. One was asthmatic children and other was pregnant women, showing that they are at a high risk. Unfortunately, this project has been put on hold because of COVID-19, but we did recruit children from the OPD. We did a health assessment. We looked at biomarkers, and we also looked at various devices which we put in schools, which we gave children to wear as looking at their personal air exposure. And we also did exercising testing in asthmatics to see that if they were exercising and having high levels of pollution, what was the inflammation that was happening in the lungs. We also have been doing what we call a Green School initiative with Delhi University, Venkateshwar College, where we go to colleges and really try and talk to we go to schools and try and talk to the children there and try and help them to decrease their carbon footprint. And this has been going on in Delhi and surrounding NCR, where we have this health awareness camp. We combined it with also looking at obesity because of another project that we were doing. So this is just what I wanted to say, but I would just like to really end by saying that in my mind, this is something we need to work urgently, and we need to work as a team with all stakeholders in terms of finding solutions as far as air pollution is concerned, and it's doable. The last 1 year showed that if we were able to really look at some degree of solutions, we could really bring down the levels of air pollution in this entire belt and have better quality as far as air is concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Galeria. It was so informative. I just can't thank you enough. So many studies put together in a very simple manner, conveying the same message that air pollution is a killer, is something which makes people suffer through various routes. It's not just the respiratory things which you suffer from. There are cardiovascular issues. There are eyes which are impacted. And then there are so many new things which you told us, many of us probably were not aware of. Sir, I have asked people to just write if there are any questions for you in the chat box, because I know you'll have to leave a little early. If you can wait for 5 more minutes, and if in case we have more questions, we'll just pass it on. Thank you so much.
I can do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Galeria. With this, actually, there is a question for you, although it is not directly related to air pollution. But Mr. Ashutosh Bhushan is asking, which one is more fatal, COVID or black fungus or white fungus?
Okay, so this is not related to air pollution, but what I'd like to say is that I think the issue of black or white or yellow has become a misnomer, because black fungus, which is mucormycosis, is not actually black. Black fungus in terms of the taxonomy is a different type of fungus, but fungal infections are something that we can avoid as far as COVID is concerned. If you have a fungal infection which is detected late and it spreads into the sinuses, the orbit, and into the brain, it can be fatal because it needs extensive surgery, which means that you may have to do a lot of debridement, that is taking out the tissue, and treatment also with antifungal goes on for almost 6 to 8 weeks. So it is a more difficult treatment And therefore, I would suggest that we take measures to prevent it rather than letting it happen.
Right. One more question. It's not very clear, but I think what he means is that are the things which are impacting the ecosystem also relevant during the COVID times?
So they
such
are
as evolution. Yeah.
they are relevant, and like I tried to show that air pollution itself is also driving severity of COVID-19. So there are a number of factors in the environment which also lead to uh, more chances of having severe infection, because pollution is also something that we inhale. So when we inhale high levels of air pollution, it causes also inflammation in the lungs. And that inflammation is also seen indirectly when we have the viral infection. So this can lead to more damage to the lung and more severe infection. And that is what is important to understand. And this is being now documented. There's one preprint study also from the US, which has shown that when they did a total data analysis for various counties in the US, they could show a direct link with higher mortality and higher levels of air pollution.
Okay, just last two questions for you, sir. One is on how does air pollution affect the spread of COVID-19? And number two, how does air pollution causes loss of birth weight?
Okay, so two or three things. One is air pollution. When women tend to during pregnancy here breathe in poor quality air, it causes inflammation in the system, and this affects the placenta and the blood supply to the infant, and that itself can lead to decrease in the birth weight as far as the child is concerned. So this is important to keep in mind that women, and this has been shown especially with indoor air pollution. So a lot of women who do cooking using what we call solid fuels, that is cow dung and wood, and are exposed to this fuel because of poorly ventilated kitchen, they inhale a lot of indoor air pollutants, and this has been shown to cause inflammation and poor blood supply as far as the placenta is concerned. The second question was regarding the air pollution and COVID-19. So it's indirect. There is some indirect evidence, although I won't say it's strong enough, which suggests that the virus may stay in the environment for a longer period if pollutants are there, and some people have hypothesized that it may get attached to a pollutant of a smaller size and therefore may stay suspended in the air for a long time and therefore cause more infection. But I don't think we have enough data to really suggest that. There is definite data which suggests that it can cause more serious infection. Also, I think it's important that we, like I mentioned, talk of One Health, and we are actually now trying to do a study with some collaborators to see what happened as far as One Health was concerned during the lockdown, because it's something that is important to see, because for the last 1 year, there has been, let's say, an unintended experiment which has been done as far as pollution is concerned, because it has led to a decrease in the levels of pollution as compared to what we would have seen 2 or 3 years ago in the pre-COVID era.
Thank you, Dr. Galeria. I mean, wonderful responses to all the questions posed to you. The list is going on and on. I will have to stop in interest of your time and everyone else's time. But thank you all the participants, and thank you, Dr. Galeria, for being with us today and answering all the queries.
Thank you very much.
Let me move on, and I can see Jonathan is back, and I just hand it over back to Jonathan for taking us through what SDC is doing in India and how important is the Clean Air Project supported by SDC. Jonathan.
Thank you very much, Sumit Sharma. Thank you. Sorry, I had some technical problems. I had to restart the computer. But I have the pleasure and the chance to speak after Dr. Gularia, Professor Gularia. So it's an immense pleasure, and I have the opportunity also to reflect and to bounce back on what has been said prior to my speech. And I think I find it really interesting that you mentioned the need to look at the environment and to look at the issues in a holistic way, to have a holistic approach. And I find it very interesting that whether it's through a scientific perspective or ethical or development or policy perspective, we reach the same conclusion, that we need a holistic approach, that we need to look at the environmental issues in a holistic way. So that's something I would like to reflect on also with you. So first of all, I must say it's really a pleasure, honor to be with all of you, professors, panelists, respected teachers, parents, children, and friends of nature. Today is a subject that is very close to my heart, that I'm passionate about. It's about the environment, a subject that is so fundamental for life on Earth and for all of us. And what I find even more inspiring is that today we have the opportunity to address a young public, student teachers, who I strongly connect with. Not only because I've been a student for most of my life. I only completed my study at the age of 32, nor because I'm still a student. I'm learning maybe Hindi सीखता हूँ, but because it is among youth that I find most hope, most energy, more inspiration to imagine a better world and to change, and the motivation to do this work. Just to give you an example, 2 years ago, my 10-year-old son took me to a Friday for Future event, a demonstration in Geneva, a climate strike. And there was so much energy, so much shouting, dancing, joy. I was crying with joy. And I was wondering why we didn't do that also before. So we had 20,000 youth in Geneva, 4.5 million youth around the world asking for change, asking for to tackle the issue of climate change. And if you look at the impact it had, I mean, never climate has been so high on the agenda before. So today is the Environment Day, and the theme is reimagine, recreate, and restore, something I think the youth are best at. So let's start with reimagining. And since I don't have any PowerPoint presentation, I will be very old style. I will ask you to close your eyes. So please imagine a place that is green, that is full of trees, where you can see white mountains even hundreds of kilometers away. The air is so pure because there are no cars. You have to park at the entrance of town and take a bus, but it's okay because you don't need a car. Trains, buses, public transport can take you more quickly anywhere than trains. Than cars. My kids can walk and play in the street, for instance. I mean, your kids, we can walk, exercise, and stay healthy. And during summer nights, you don't need an AC because the air is blowing through the trees and cools down your room through the open window. You can pick up berries in the forest or along roads. Water is so clean that you can swim in rivers and lakes and even drink the water from the streams. So do you like it? You can open your eyes now. Well, actually, I've cheated because what I've described is the place where I live in a small village in Switzerland. So I know it's not everywhere like this. And it has not also always been like this, even in that village. And we did have to fight to get there and to keep it this way. We have to remind polluters that this is not okay. We also have issues in terms of CO2 emissions in Switzerland, or glaciers are melting, like in India, actually, or forests are dying. We have an issue, loss of biodiversity, for instance. And I will come back to that later. But the place I described, I think, is the place I want for my kids. That's the place I want my kids to grow up in. And I believe this is possible in India too, and in cities as well, if we all want it and we all work on it. So how do we then recreate and restore that? Well, we do have a long way to go, but we have to start somewhere. So that's why I wanted to give you one example, which is the Clean Air Project. Switzerland has been working in India for more than 60 years. And together with the Indian government, the Swiss and Indian partners like TERI, the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, we call it SDC, works on climate change and the environment. The thing is that climate change is happening. It's affecting primarily the most vulnerable among us, and we need to act. So that's why we work on what we call climate resilient development. How can we make communities, cities, states resist to the impact of climate change and natural disasters? And second, we also work on low carbon development because there are limits to adaptations to climate change and to what human societies and life on Earth can stand. So we do need to limit our greenhouse gas emissions to contain the increase of temperatures as much as we can. And this is why we have projects on, for instance, developing low carbon cement, on energy efficiency, on renewable energies, and for instance, in agriculture. So SDC also works to support the Clean Air Project because greenhouse gas emissions, black carbon, air pollution are all linked. So we come back to this idea of having a holistic perspective because the problems are linked also. And because one cannot ask people to act on climate change unless immediate needs such as clean air are not fulfilled. So what do we do through the Clean Air Project India? We call it CAP India. It is one of our flagship projects. We work first to strengthen the government of India's effort in controlling the air pollution in 4 non-attainment cities. And I know many of you are from there, from Lucknow, Kanpur, Pune, and Nashik. And we help them achieve their clean air targets. So I say we, but actually the work is done by the Energy and Resource Institute, the Polscherer Institute in Switzerland, along with ARAI, IIT Kanpur, the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, and the National Environmental Engineering and Research Institute. It's quite a big project team. And what is done through this project? Well, first, we work on improved data measurement and analysis on air pollution, because we need to understand the scale of pollution, the type of pollution, and where the pollution comes from. So in CAP India, Indian and Swiss scientists work in collaboration. Leading techniques are being used and developed to produce state-of-the-art data and research. And second thing that is done through this project, we work to enhance the capacities of cities and state authorities to implement clean air policies and action plans. Knowledge needs to be translated into policies, and policies have to be implemented and turned into action. The National Clean Air Programme of the Government of India has set the goal to meet the interim target of 20 to 30% reduction in microparticles concentrations in the air by 2024. This is an interim target, not an end target, of course. But it's important to show that we can reverse the trend, that we can work on air pollution. But I told you, one has to start somewhere. And third, and that's the third point, and that's why we are here. Because public's awareness is essential. You are essential. And this is the reason why we are here today, to learn about it, to know, to be conscious about the issue, and to know that we need to work together for solutions and see how we can work together for solutions. And talks like we've just heard by Professor Galeria, I think are absolutely instrumental, because we don't know everything about air pollution, everything, how it affects us. So my message is today to have a bit of a broader perspective on today's theme of Environment Day. Ultimately, we do have to recreate and restore an environment. But for this, we first need to change the way we look at the environment and at the place of humans in the environment. So we need a holistic perspective on that. So first, we humans are part of the environment. For too long, we've seen humans as separate from the environment. But we are part of nature. Like other species, we are the product of 2 billion years of evolution, starting from the very same cells, sharing a large part of our DNA. We share the same neurotransmitters with plants. I saw a remark, also a question on plants, and so that made me reflect on that. The way we are built is like, most other animals. I mean, yeah. We are made of the same elements, the same atoms, which we share with other living species, with our soil, with our air, with our oceans. And nature is the most fantastic, the richest library we've ever have, which makes us wonder, why do we use it as if we were burning the books of this library? Life is a miracle. It has been transmitted for over 2 billion years. I don't think we'll ever be able to create life, but we're transmitting it. And it's been transmitted and will be transmitted again in all its diversity. So we have to look at how marvelous our planet is, and we need to respect it. So before thinking of colonizing Mars or the moon, first, can we think of protecting this marvelous planet we have here? We need to marvel at nature, marvel at life, look at it for what it is, in the same way as children marvel at the sight of a baby cat or baby dog. We need to re-enchant our world. So that was the first point. My second point is that we are just as healthy as our environment. Again, we tend to study organisms in a separation, but it's important because, I mean, they're complex, and we have to be very specific if we need to understand how they work, and we need to specialize. But what are we in isolation? We need to be holistic. What is the plant without water, soil, or air? What are we without the water we drink, the food we eat, and the air we breathe? If the water we drink is full of pollutants and harmful bacteria, and the air we breathe is full of dust, of heavy metals, of carbon monoxide, of sulfur dioxide, how can we be healthy? So again, the environment is a whole. We don't litter in a house, so why do we have, why do we litter elsewhere? Why do we litter our rivers or parks or streets or forests? That's a whole. Can we think of, before buying plastics, that we have no solution to it? That the garbage we produce will end up either in our soils or ocean or in air when we burn it. So when we pollute an environment, we also pollute ourselves. We have to see ourselves. I mean, we are just as healthy as our environment. My third message is that everyone is entitled to a clean, healthy environment. It should not be a privilege of the few. Clean air is a good starting point because it affects all of us, although to diverse degrees. And it's very difficult to protect or to shelter you against air pollution. And there are no trade-off between, pollution or, between the development and environment. Pollution is affecting health. It's affecting our agriculture, our economy. It costs millions to us. So there can be no development without taking care of environment. My 4th point is that we are all responsible for our environment. Some solutions require changes in individual behavior. We have to be the change that we want to see in this world. Some solutions require collective action in our neighborhood, for instance. And some solutions also require demanding action and supporting the politics when they act, for instance, on clean air projects. And 5th, and that will be my final point, is that we have to listen more our kids, because we have to listen to the type of future they want. If I take the example of Switzerland, we have a huge debate at the moment. We have a law on CO2 that is being voted. Actually, there is a referendum, so people are allowed to ask to vote on it. And the idea is to tax fossil fuel and support energy efficiency measures, for instance. There's another law under referendum as well to reduce the use of pesticides in agriculture, and another one to protect our water. And there's a big debate between those who are for and those who refuse to see the end of fossil fuels, who think that we can't afford healthy food. That they have, but have they asked their children what future they want? And that brings me to my conclusion. There is a Native American Indian saying that goes like this: we don't inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. We don't inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. And I think that sums up the sustainable development. This sums up the change of mindset we need to operate for us and for our children. So on these words, I wish you a great Environment Day. I wish every single day could be celebrated as an environmental day. Thank you for being here, and I'm looking forward to hearing all the other contributions today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jonathan. I think it was very encouraging, and I must say that you have quoted some nice examples and made us visualize, how, what could be the real benefits of having good air around us. Thank you. And there were a few questions. One of them is, if you know, you talked about SDGs. If you know a country which is close to, I know there won't be any country who has met all the SDGs, but is there any country which is close to meeting its SDG and sort of becomes an idol for the rest to follow?
I think the SDGs are very important as indicators, but they're also aspirationals. And that's something that we can always do more. We can always do better, and we should always aim at. It's the same question about if you take sustainability. We can always be sustainable. At the moment, I think there's no country that does enough to be sustainable. So, and it's the same with SDGs. So that would be my question, my answer to that. But we see progress being made, and that's what is important. Although the COVID has, had some impacts on many of the SDGs, and we have to work more on of course, to catch up this. But overall, some progress has been made, and what is important is that we keep on progressing towards the 2030 objectives.
Thank you, Jonathan. There's always a scope to improve further. That's what you meant. And I think on this note, let me just move on. I have few slides to share with you. I was just thinking about some nice, good messages. Just confirm me if you can see my screen.
Yes, Amit, we can see it.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So just I was putting my thoughts together, and these are the few things which came to my mind when I was putting up these slides. And I have a feeling that pictorially, when you show things, it sometimes grabs your attention and also sensitizes you in the process. So the first message for all of us to grasp is that air pollution is definitely a serious problem, and not just for Delhi, not just for big city like Mumbai or Bangalore, but almost every city in the country, and not just cities, but also in the rural regions. If you see the left-hand map of the world, you will see that the State of Global Air Report 2020 says that India is probably one of the most polluted places across the world. There are many other countries which are polluted, but India shows very high air pollutant levels. In India, if you see the right-hand map, which is our modeling simulation map, it shows that within India also there are variations. And the Indo-Gangetic Plain, where Lucknow is, where Kanpur is the most polluted region in the country. Well, there are reasons for it. There are so many emission sources which are there, but other than the emission sources, the meteorology, which plays a very important role, is also something which is contributing to very high levels of pollutants, especially during winters when the wind speeds are low and boundary layer heights are shallow. If you see the chart in the bottom, you will see all Indian cities on the x-axis and PM10 concentrations annual averaged for on the y-axis, and you will find that Lucknow and Kanpur are in the top few cities of the country showing very high levels. Pune is somewhere in between, about 140 micrograms, and Nashik is around 60-70 micrograms. But the fact is, all four of them are not meeting the annual average standard of 60 micrograms. So this is something which is worrisome, and this needs to be taken care of. Move forward. Now, these are specific charts of the four cities, and it was not the question of only 1 year, 2019, which I spoke in the first slide. You can see over the years, for last almost 20 years, the levels have remained above the standards. In the last few years, we can say that governments have reacted to it. Governments have tried to put up air quality management plans, and some sort of arrestation, some sort of plateauing effect can be seen. But there's a lot to be done, because we are far too away from the standards, and proper strengthening, proper implementation of air quality management plan is needed in all cities. Okay, now coming to the second message, which is, what are the sources which contribute to the problem? Now, I've made these pie charts based on the data which we've collected from number of institutes. At the India level, these are our own inventories, which show that residential sector, where people are burning biomass, and industries, where a lot of solid fuels without much controls are used, are the two biggest sources for pollution. However, if you see the same pie chart for cities like Lucknow, Kanpur, Nashik, and Pune, which are the target cities for the Clean Air Project, you will find that sources are not the same. In fact, transport and road dust are the primary contributors at the city level. So, as the scale changes, as the city changes, as the region changes, the contributing sources change. And that is why there is a need to do scientific studies to understand what is contributing to your particular region. Third thing is something which Dr. Galeria explained it very beautifully. I mean, it is not only human health, it is not only our lungs which are impacted. There are so many things across the whole human society which are impacted. If I just throw some numbers, almost 0.6 to 1.6 million mortalities. There is a big range of estimates because there are differences in the dose response curves. But the fact is, almost 1 million people are suffering, are dying because of ambient air pollution in the country. That's a big number. And it's, as I said, it's not only lungs. It's the cardiovascular problems. It's the other problems which Dr. Galeria talked about. And I would like to point out this new study, Singh et al. 2021, which almost surprised me. I mean, what I found is a very good correlation found between burning events and reduction in the height of adolescent girls. What they are claiming is that due to burning events around people where the people are living, they could see a slight reduction of almost a centimeter in heights of adolescent girls. Now, what it is telling us? It is telling us there could be so many other impacts which air pollution is causing to us other than just impacting our lungs and hearts. And we are probably unaware of it. So there are so many reasons to control this, and we should be definitely serious about it. The second thing which Dr. Galeria also mentioned is the reduction in agricultural productivity. And in our own study, we found that almost 20-25% of wheat is not even grown in India because ozone levels are surprisingly. What we know is impact on Taj Mahals and golden temples of the country. And I have got many queries when rusting of industrial equipment has been caused by high toxic air pollutants present in the atmosphere. Someone asked about this question about how aerosol impacts climate. This is something which is related to presence of aerosols in the atmosphere, and we know then that when you have black color particles in the atmosphere, they can absorb heat and make the atmosphere warmer. But at the same time, they are also not allowing the sunlight to reach the Earth's surface, and Earth's surface is becoming cooler and cooler. So that means you are making your atmosphere warmer and making the Earth's surface cooler, changing the temperatures, and it can lead to differences in the planetary boundary layer heights and several other things. Another thing which it can do is that you have particles and the rain droplets are divided into several particles, and they are not big enough to fall, and eventually it can lead to reduction in the rainfall levels. So it's not only impacting locally to humans, but it's also impacting at a larger scale to human society in the form of climate change. There are estimates that all this, if you add up, it can lead to a big loss of economy in a scale of 1 to 2% of GDP. And finally, as I pasted this picture of a cricketer wearing a mask, this is what we have seen that when these things happen, it dents the image of the city, it dents the image of the country. Okay, the fourth message is that whenever we see high pollution level in your area, we tend to believe that there is something happening in the close vicinity only, and we tend to forget that there are so many things which can come from far away region. I'll give you one example. This is a map of Lucknow, and let's say we have an area called Gomti Nagar, and there is a monitoring station there, and we believe that there is something happening around this circle which could be contributing to high pollution levels. But what we forget is that there is this big city around this monitoring station, and when the wind blows from a particular direction, it can bring a lot of pollutants from the rest of the city to this particular monitoring station. And not just this, if you see a larger picture, then you will realize that it's not only even the city, it's a big region which can contribute to that particular monitoring station as a regional background. So when we plan to control pollution at a particular station, It is not only the local sources you need to control. It's not only the city level sources you need to control. You need to take into account the whole region and plan for its improvement. The fifth message is about solutions. And there are so many things people try to do. They sometimes ban industries. They try to put up some red lights to reduce congestion, to build flyovers, put water sprinklers. They try to bring CNG, electrify vehicles. But the point is, what is to be done? What is to be done first, and for what budgets need to be arranged? I think that is something which is required to be done, because we are living in an economy which is resource constrained. We also do not have great amount of time in hand that we wait for things to happen and we do hit and try. So in this process, we basically need to prioritize the solutions, and this is something which we have tried out for the city of Pune and Nashik at this moment. Based on a multi-criteria approach. Colleagues tried to prioritize, and this is what they did with different stakeholders in the city. They took their perspectives on what are their potentials to reduce, what are the costs involved, how good they could be in reducing pollution and creating livelihood opportunities. What we found is that in a city like Pune, metro rail transport or CNG buses can have the largest impact in terms of stakeholders' perspective. For a city of Nashik, where industrial pollution was found to be significantly contributing, actions against non-compliant industrial units came out to be the forefront interventions. So, in this way, pollution control boards can have a prioritized list of action, and they can prioritize their actions based on this exercise. The sixth message is a hope for all of us that air pollution is a solvable issue, and this has been proved naturally by the COVID lockdowns. Nobody wanted COVID to come to us, but when it came, it brought to us one small positive benefit, that the lockdowns which were associated with it led to improvement in air quality all across the board. Well, these are the maps of 4 cities: Lucknow, Kanpur, Pune, and Nashik. And you can see that red dots, which are the concentrations of PM 2.5 in 2020, are lower during the lockdowns than the blue dots, which are for 2019. Now, we could see the clear skies. We could see, some people could see the mountains and all this from a far distance, all because of things which happened during the lockdowns. There were curtailment of industrial activities. The traffic was reduced, and so many activities were reduced. But this is not I am trying to suggest. We do not want it at the cost of economic growth. Well, what we want is to delink the economic growth from emissions. And now we have the right technologies. We have the management practices there, from which if we implement, can lead to the similar situation which we observed during lockdowns. The last thing, I think the last message which Dr. Galeria also touched upon very briefly, is that air pollution is something which can aggravate COVID-related impacts. Now, this is something which came in last November in US, and what they did was they mapped the PM 2.5 levels across the country, and they also mapped the mortality map due to COVID. And what would they find through a regression kind of an analysis is that for every increase in 1 microgram of PM 2.5 long-term averages, they could associate 11% increase in deaths due to COVID-19. Now, this is a scary number. Now, in India, you know how big pollution level is in different cities. Now, clearly it is stating that if you have people exposed to high pollution levels for a long period of time in past, their lungs are not so immune, so they are not so strong enough to tackle the viral load of COVID-19 related virus, and it can lead to severities in them. what Professor V. Ramanathan, he is a top climate and air quality scientist. We are working with him. In the morning, he sent me a message that this means that we should target the vaccination program, first to our heavily polluted cities in the region, and that can save a lot of people because we know that they are most prone to, higher order of problems which can be caused to them due to COVID-19 virus. So with all this, I would just say that what Jonathan said is correct. We are here to implement all the ideas which I tried to reflect through my 7 messages. And the CAP India project is about improving the scientific understanding of people, strengthening the air quality management plan with the Uttar Pradesh Pollution Control Board and the Maharashtra Pollution Control Board. I must say that I am working with brilliant people, both Ashish Tiwari ji and Modgare Saab. They have been, so cooperative, so helpful, and so dynamic in their approach. And I must say they are doing great job and surely in next few years we can see a great dip in air pollution levels in these 4 cities, and I'm quite hopeful about it. The last part of this is about capacity building and awareness generation, and this event is in line with that thinking. And I'm sure with the speakers lined up for after me, we'll have great understanding of air pollution issues and how the governments are trying to tackle them. Thank you very much. With this, I'll probably take the questions a little later, but let me move on to our next speaker, who is Mr. Ashish Tiwari from Uttar Pradesh Pollution Control Board. He's the member secretary and leading all the efforts in various cities of Uttar Pradesh to tackle air pollution and implement air quality management plans. Tiwari ji, all yours.
Thank you so much, Sumit ji. I wish you all a very happy Environment Day, to all panelists, to all participants. And this is being a very high pleasure for me to speak for the state of Uttar Pradesh and what actually we are doing so far as the air pollution is concerned in the state of Uttar Pradesh. Just to give a kind of outline that it's a big state. In a very simple word, I can say it's a very big state. And so far air pollution is concerned, we have 17 non-attainment cities. 17 non-attainment cities, 7 million plus cities, which are non-attainment, I think largest in our country. And the problem, all the cities throughout the state falls in Indo-Gangetic plains. You must have seen the map, air pollution profile map shown by Sumit ji, that Indo-Gangetic plain has highest particulate matter concentration and the highest pollution levels. So we are working in a very, very challenging field in the state of Uttar Pradesh, and the population density is very high. The cities are very congested. The development earlier was not very much planned. So these are the challenges where retrofitting is also not very much possible. But definitely there is a ray of hope. If we match our study with the theme of today's discussion, that is reimagine, recreate, restore, then definitely there will be a change on the positive side. For cities of Uttar Pradesh, like very rightly indicated by our earlier speakers, that it is not actually the city level pollution which matters, but the background pollution coming from regional level and long range pollution is actually matters. The holistic approach with respect to tackling the problem of air pollution is very, very important. Right now, we are having latest updated source apportionment studies of Agra and Kanpur cities in Uttar Pradesh, which is done by IIT Kanpur. And I am very much thankful to TERI that Lucknow is being done by TERI. I would like to tell you the findings of those two studies, not exactly the sector-wise contributions, but also on the side of background pollutions in both the cities. And to your utter surprise that in the Kanpur and Agra, the background contribution is about 60% to the city of Agra and Kanpur. So you can imagine the kind of problem which we are facing. Everybody is talking about city level interventions, but actually a major part of problem lies beyond the city limits. That is what we have learned in the cities of Uttar Pradesh in Indo-Gangetic Plains. And I think similar story will come so far as Lucknow is concerned. Second thing is, what is our norms and what is our standards? I would like to throw some light on the study done by Central Pollution Control Board for the NCR, Delhi NCR region. The level of concentrations which came down during lockdown as compared to level of concentrations which were there in year 2019. That study, if you go through, the 40 to 50% concentrations only could be achieved when there was standstill of all anthropogenic activities. So we have to actually look upon whether our standards are worth revising or not. What actually we can achieve. That also we have to think, we have to rethink. And definitely our approaches, the holistic approach that Jonathan rightly pointed out, the holistic approach, not only holistic approach in scientific solutions of the problem, but also holistic approach in participation and holistic approach in our actions involving all stakeholders. When I got invitation for this particular webinar, I was just thinking that what should I reimagine, what should we recreate, and how should we restore our air quality. I thought the biggest stakeholder is the common citizen. If somehow we can move our common citizen for healthy lifestyle, more air pollution friendly lifestyle, then definitely there will be a ray of hope. Whether it is an issue of construction and demolition waste, whether it is an issue of disposal of solid waste, whether it is an issue of, you can say, raising plantations in green areas. I think if we are able to move the individuals, then definitely there will be a change. Somebody in our forest department gave us an idea. We were given a target to plant 20 crores seedlings in one rainy season last year. So we were thinking that this target is very difficult to achieve. But somebody told me that if one person plants one tree, then UP's population is 22.5 crores. Then definitely 22.5 crores trees, if not all plant, 50% of them if plant, then of course 12-13 crore trees will be planted in a single day. So this is the power of moving the biggest stakeholder. So I think the biggest solution lies in moving the common citizen to contribute, to adopt a kind of a lifestyle so that air pollution due to anthropogenic activities can be controlled in a very effective manner. Today, joining with us maybe number of students, etc. Just to move them, we may, in this particular time of pandemic, we may organize some kind of a hackathon for crowdsourcing of ideas, for sensitizing our youth. I think these things will matter a lot. When it comes to pollution due to traffic, of course, construction of flyovers, construction of bypasses has to be kept in mind, has to be taken up. But if a common citizen follows the traffic norms, follows the proper protocols of parking, etc., then also the problem is solved to a great extent. Regarding plantations, etc., I think when I was just thinking how to recreate, so there is a solution called Miyawaki forest, where you can recreate a natural forest in just 160 square meters of land. So this is how in the small campuses, schools, premises, we can recreate our forests, natural forests. Miyawaki forest is nothing but a very high density plantation of native species. You must have heard about Miyawaki plantations. We have developed a complete protocol, standard operating procedure to develop Miyawaki plantations, etc. So I think the interventions at the level of government, the implementation of action plans, and more importantly, the action plan for the whole of airshed for a particular city will actually needed at this point of time to bring down the pollution levels as visualized in our National Clean Air Program. Otherwise, whatever efforts we make, there is an offset because of increase in population, increase in number of vehicles, and etc. etc. So we need to do some extra efforts. We need to adopt a holistic approach, and definitely action plans, city level action plans, then airshed level action plans, then landscape action plans. These are the approaches which we have to adopt. And of course, our resources are limited. So we have to prioritize that how to catch the low hanging fruits so that desired pollution levels can be achieved. We think that in the cities of Uttar Pradesh, we are having number of cities, non-attainment cities, and the good news is flowing for every city. The particulate matter is coming down, but definitely even when the air pollution mitigation projects like flyovers, road construction, infrastructure development projects, they are taken up, then our control measures actually doesn't bring down the emissions even after adopting the best of control measures to actually zero. So whenever a city is at a development stage, the pollution particulate matter emissions rises. Definitely some of our cities have attained saturation like Ghaziabad, Noida, etc. in NCR region. So construction phase is gone. There we hope to see a good change in the air quality, provided we adopt airshed approach in mitigation of air pollution. So these are the few ideas, and I think the biggest success lies in moving all the stakeholders, whether they are industries, whether they are common citizens, whether they are construction projects, whether they are other sources of emission. If we try to move everybody in the right direction with more of a virtual monitoring mechanism, then definitely we would hit the target. Thank you very much. It was quite enlightening for me to hear Professor Galeria, Jonathan, Sumitji, and everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tiwari ji. It has been great working with you for last 1 year, and we have moved ahead. We have made a lot of progress in your guidance, and I'm sure in next 1 to 2 years we will be able to demonstrate some real-world technologies on ground in the cities of Lucknow and Kanpur, which can make real difference in the air quality of the cities. Thank you so much for your kind words. Let's now move on to state of Maharashtra. I mean, this is a state which is known for its economic growth, and it's also known for its environmental problems, including air pollution. Dr. Mudgare is holding the fort there to have this tussle between economic growth and pollution related issues. And let's hear out from him how he is trying to deal with the problems, what new things have been tried out in the state, and what is specifically happening in the cities of Pune and Nashik, and how does he perceive the CAP India program going along with him. Dr. Mudgare, all yours.
Thank you, Sumit. I'm audible. Can you able to?
Yes, yes, please.
Thank you, Sumit. Nicely organizing this webinar on restoring air quality for healthy ecosystem on the eve of World Environment Day. This time the host country is Pakistan, and this CAP India project, we are supporting wholeheartedly to TERI and SDG, whatever the data and they require. Much taking a time, how the Maharashtra is progressing, I'll tell. As a member secretary of UP Pollution Control Board has told, the UP is having a 17 non-attainment cities. For Maharashtra, it is 19 non-attainment cities. It is one of the most urbanized state and most industrialized state in India, and highly urbanized and industrialized state, and a developing stage, causing lot of air pollution issues. And with the support of NERI, IIT Mumbai, the scientific institution like TERI, and our other partners, SDG, we are making a foolproof program. This CAP India program, in view of the Nashik and Pune, I would like to take some of the key issues. For Nashik and Pune, the parameters of evaluation should be like this. The assessment of the city performance on air quality will be based on the process-based criteria, that is one, and the outcome-based criteria. When we have analyzed internally, the process-based criteria is the strengthening of pollution monitoring mechanism, that is one. Source-wise cause analysis of air pollution, and number 3 is a progress of action plan for and compliance of statutory guidelines. That is a process-based criteria. And when we come to the outcome-based criteria, it is a quantification and evaluation of air quality improvements like reduction in air pollution level, that is a particulate matter, and frequency of exceedance of AQI levels. This is when we call the evaluation, when we go to the evaluation. This is outcome-based criteria. And during this last 2 years, focus is mostly primary on the development of infrastructures of ULBs, and later in the phase of the program, weightage is more on the outcome-based activities. When I go to the strengthening of pollution monitoring mechanism, the deployment of the financial resources for identify activities for a city-based action plan, that is Pune and Nashik, IT-enabled air quality data management system and their dissemination, dedicated cell for AQ monitoring, then coordination between the various stakeholders, and graded response action plan implementation. When we go to the source-wise cause analysis for air pollution, It is a air profiling of the air quality monitoring stations, source performance study and robust emission inventory, development of IT emission inventory, delineation of airshed for carrying capacity studies, and identification of major sources. And in regards to the action plan progress in association with CPCB, NERI, and IIT and TERI, we have developed a mechanism for generation of automatic warning systems with the stakeholder, installation of real-time air quality monitoring stations at point sources with connectivity to the SPCBs and CPCB and ULB. We have increased the number of monitoring stations. We have calibration and fitness PUC centers and their monitoring at QAQC, monitoring of PUC vehicle data and compliance with number of vehicles, and compliance of provision of solid waste and C&D waste, e-waste, plastic and hazardous waste in the cities. In regards to the Nashik and this city, before the inception of the National Clean Air Program, before the NGT direction, way back in 2017, we have given this work of source performance study of Nashik and Pune to IIT Delhi and NERI, and their first report is interim report is submitted to a CPCB for their comments. And also we are going ahead with the other 17 cities for a carrying capacity and source performance study, and hope by the end of July we can get able to give the final report of carrying capacity. In response to the Pune and Nashik, Nashik is also is one of the city where SEPI index is more, and we have directed all the industries in SEPI area to convert to the clean fuel. And to this, we have got a very good response for conversion of from coal or high sulfur content to the clean fuel. Also in Pune, where Pune city, where when Pimpri Chinchwad and other automobile hub, we have directed all the industries to come with a clean fuel. And during the last 1 or 2 years, during the COVID also and during non-COVID also, there is a tremendous increase in the traffic density in Pune city, and it is a hub of the educational institution, and many students from the other part of the states and abroad comes, and there is a auto clusters also. So we have taken PUC drive calibration and also appointed a committee for the under ex-transport commissioner to evaluate this emission inventory. With various recommendation from the SDG and TERI under CAP Air program, I think Sumit and his team has already interacted with all the stakeholders, and hope with the interaction with the stakeholder, it will be able to reduce this AQI and to achievable level. And we need to have a behavioral changes among requires among with the people, and sensitization among the various parts at the various levels. I think it's already, I'm taking much time. I think whatever the supports we need to HGD and TERI, MPCB as one of the foremost state as a air pollution control board, will extend all the support in success in achieving the goal set up by SGB and TERI for improving air quality in state of Maharashtra, particularly in Nashik and Pune. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you, Sumit. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Modgare. I think you've clearly explained the things you're doing in Maharashtra, and I'm sure to offset the implications of high economic growth in the state, the efforts need to be of that kind of scale, and I'm sure the intensity of our efforts will grow in future and will reduce air pollution in the state of Maharashtra. thank you for coming here, and also thank you for all the efforts you are putting in this field. I think let's move on our focus from the government efforts to the awareness part of it. Unless people are aware, people are contributing. I think all the things which can be planned through a research, all the things which the government officials may plan, will fall on its face unless it is adopted by the general public. And it can only happen when they are aware, they are sensitized to adopt these things, to move forward in these directions. We have a small movie which can actually depict how all these things are happening, and it is just a small 3-4 minute clip which can make an attempt to make people more aware about air pollution issues. My colleague Neha is also there, who will immediately speak after this movie clip is over, and she is an expert in the education awareness, environmental education and awareness field. She has a very big network of schools and colleges in the 4 cities, and she must be interacting with all of you already. And I think I must thank her for not just for helping us out in arranging this program, but also leading this effort to spread awareness under the Cap India project.
Yeah, thank you, Sumit. Can I request Program Cell to give me sharing rights so that I can share my PPT?
Yes, Neha, done it. Start.
I still haven't received it.
Yes,
Okay.
you are the presenter now.
I hope, is it visible?
Yes, visible, Neha.
Thank you, Sumit. A very good evening to all the participants. Today, as a pre-event to World Environment Day, we are focusing on restoring air quality for healthy ecosystem. You have heard to the eminent speakers like Dr. Galeria, Jonathan. We have heard the perspectives of the Pollution Control Board from Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra from Mr. Tiwari and Mr. Great. Now, if I go into the depth of again what is air pollution, it's not required. So, we had a series of webinars earlier also under the part of the project. So you all are aware what is air pollution, what are the various sources of air pollution that are causing air pollution, and we are able to kind of identify the various sources of pollution in our neighborhood. What is the impact of the air pollution which is visible to us in the physical environment, and also the impact of the air pollution on our health. Dr. Galeria has spoken about it at length, that how the air pollution is impacting our health, and also he talked about the most important feature, which is One Health. We really need to concentrate that how our health is linked to the environment, and not only to the environment, but also our neighborhood as a whole. So we need to consider the health of the entire ecosystem. That's the reason that on this World Environment Day, we are talking about restoring ecosystems. So we have been talking, you all are so already aware about the various possible solutions so that we can combat air pollution, whether it's involved choosing renewable sources of energy or choose low volatile organic compound products, less energy, let to compost your waste, don't litter the waste around, use efficient options of energy, try and adopt better measures. By better, I mean best is the walking. If not walking, bicycle. If not bicycle, take a public transport. If not public transport, you have to go by car, try and go by carpool. So there are many options which we are aware consciously and unconsciously, which is there in our mind. So what I can summarize that we already are aware with the knowledge that something exists in form of an air pollution. and we have developed the understanding of that entire situation or about the subject. It is based on both two things, whether we had an experience on our own or whether we have the information which is available. Considering that you are participating in the webinar, so I can say that you know about the subject both by your own experience and which is the information available. So what to do now? You are aware, turn your knowledge into action. That is the need of an hour. Yes, there is a need of an hour to do solutions which need prioritization, which government is taking care of. But you as an individual, you as a citizen of the country, what you would like to do, irrespective, you are a student, you are a teacher, you are working, you are a media personality, or you are an educator, or maybe in any field, whichever field you are working, the time is to turn your knowledge into action. This is what is essential. This is what is the need of an hour.
Can anyone hear Neha? I can't hear her.
She's facing the bandwidth issue, I guess.
Yeah. Neha, can you switch off your video?
Solar power, at least.
Neha, you need to switch off your video.
Okay.
Your voice is breaking in between. Just probably it's a bandwidth issue. Just switch off your video and try the presentation. Yeah, we can't hear you.
Jose, can you help me with this?
Yes, now we can hear you. Neha, go ahead.
Right.
Just switch off your video if possible. It may help you.
Yes, yes. Neha, carry on. Neha,
Neha, are you there? Neha, we can't hear you.
Will happen at my society level or the community level or by the government. No, go for composting at your level. Plant trees.
the voice is going.
Yeah.
Shall I start the presentation from here and
Sumit, you can take over. Sumit, you can take over now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just waiting for a few more seconds. If it doesn't work, then we'll move on. Neha, we can't hear you.
Okay.
Now we can hear you. You can try one more time.
Okay. Do I need to start from the top?
No, go ahead from here. That's fine.
Okay. So be a change agent to reimagine, to recreate, to restore, recreate your health, recreate the health of the ecosystem.
we again lost Neha?
Yeah, it seems there are problems. Anyways, I think the broad message is what she wanted to give was what an individual can do in this regard. And there are so many things actually. And,
Right.
And it broadly starts from, demanding good air quality as we demand good water, as we demand cleanliness around us, as we demand electricity all the time, we have to demand good air quality. And not just demanding, but also to contribute at our own individual levels either by saving energy, switching off lights or fans when you don't need them, buying energy efficient products, because if you save 1 unit of energy, it will help the power stations which are based on coal to reduce their generation. And similarly, as she was trying to point out, use of non-motorized transport is something which needs to be prevailed. I know the temperatures are and our cities are not conducive to this idea, but for shorter distances, for the mornings and the evening times, if we can switch to these options for some of the trips, I think this can certainly help. Now, public transport is something I would not say it is great in our cities, but as this is going to improve, this is what I can assure in next few years with new buses, new electric buses possibly coming to Indian cities. I'm sure we will have this option to move to public transportation systems and not opting for our own cars or own bikes. Neha, I'm sorry, we could not hear you.
Thank you, Sumit. I can understand because of the technical glitch, I was not quite audible. Is it
Right.
my voice better?
It is
Right.
better if you can conclude fast
Okay.
on this, Neha. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Sumit, for adding on to the information. Moving that, what I was talking is that we need to be associated with certain information that will keep us posted what is happening. So keeping that in mind, Clean Air Project in India today is launching some digital initiatives and competitions for the students so that you not only are updated with the latest knowledge on air pollution, but also at the same time you can assess your knowledge level. So we here will bring you the exciting series of online activities and competition. This includes not only the webinars, but also we will be posting on every weekly basis knowledge series on air pollution that will include various fun elements, fun activities, facts, and also a quiz later on each topic. These will be posted on our WhatsApp groups for the schools who are part of the project and for others through Facebook page. Apart from that, today, Sumit, we are announcing the competitions for the students from classes 6 to 12. These are jingle composition and debate. These are the instructions we will be posting again on all the WhatsApp groups and Facebook page of Clean Air Project in India. This is open for all the schools in Lucknow, Kanpur, Pune and Nashik. Even if you are not part of the project and you are from these four cities, you are most welcome to be part of these competitions and join us. Apart from that, we thought of launching a set of competitions which is under the Observance Fest on combating air pollution for the students from 1 to 5. It includes interview. So you can record your interviews in form of videos and share with us, skits with your family members, bring out the poet in you in form of a poem, be selective and be creative, bring your thoughts on paper in a different cutouts way. And all of this has to be weaved around the main theme, that is air pollution. Again, this is open for all the schools across the 4 locations for the students from classes 1 to 5. And the Facebook page, which I shared here, is a glimpse of that Facebook page where you can log in. And this is the page which is regularly updated with latest information. And soon we are starting from next week is the knowledge series. And those students or maybe the young readers, learners who are interested to know more about the books on air pollution, here I'm sharing a few references for you which you can refer, or just what is more required is to just keep yourself updated and convert your knowledge into action. That is the main thing. With this, that's the main focus. I would like to say the awareness need to be converted into action, which is the need of the hour. Over to you, Sumit.
Thank you, Neha. I think I would just encourage students to participate in all these events which she's trying to organize in next few months, and I'm sure it will be rewarding. I remember the last time when a child from 7th or 8th standard won one of these competitions, he was rewarded with a platform where he could speak with the experts and the higher-ups in this field in the prestigious World Sustainable Development Summit. And I'm sure there are various other things which are waiting for you. With this, I conclude this session and hand it over back to Anju for concluding the event.
Yeah. Thank you, Sumit. We will now be having a question and answer session. I request all the participants to kindly write their questions in the chat boxes, which will be taken up by then our esteemed panelists. So since we are running late, so we will keep this session short. So I request all the participants to write their questions quickly.
Anju, we need to be sure that I don't think Mr. Tiwari and Dr. Guleria are there. So, yeah.
Yes, Dr. Tiwari and Dr. Guleria are not here. So please don't ask questions related with them. So there is a question, how does air pollution affects on human health? From Payal.
Let me try to take this. See, when pollutants enter our body, they pass through the conduits of the air pipes, and then it finally reaches to the deepest parts of our lungs. So during this passage, they cause a lot of abrasion to our conduits, and they also block the pores of our lungs. And lungs need to put more pressure to get the same amount of air in our respiratory systems. All this also puts stress on our human heart, and that can lead to cardiovascular problems. A lot of particles which are inhaled by humans are also known carcinogens, and they can lead to lung cancers. Some of particles, if they enter our bloodstream and they are fine enough to do that, then they can spread to the whole body and can create different problems. And the latest things which are told to us is are the cognitive abilities of humans are compromised because of high air pollution.
Thank you, Sumit. The next question is, COVID-19 is also increasing through pollution. Is it true?
Well, this is what Dr. Guleria was mentioning, that the jury is out on this. It's not fully conclusive, but there is a belief that we all know that particles can carry a lot of things on them. They carry condensed volatile compounds on them. So there is a belief that they can also carry viruses while they are traveling from one place to another. So through this route, the pollution can spread through pollution particles. But most importantly, there is more clearer evidence which is coming, which is telling us that if air pollution levels are high in certain cities, then the capacity to fight COVID becomes lesser because our respiratory systems are not good enough to take that kind of infections through the viral routes.
Well, I don't think so. Dr. Guleria is there. This question pertains to Dr. Guleria. Virus is dangerous or bacteria is?
Well, yeah. Let's conclude, Anju. Let's conclude. If don't have
sure. So, okay, with this, now we would like to thank all the esteemed speakers for sharing their insightful thoughts with the audiences today. I would also like to thank all the participants for their interest and cooperation. Wishing you all a great Environment Day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you again in some time. Bye.
Thank